Hello and welcome to the Season 5 recap of Elite. If you need a recap on Season 4, you can check out the link in the cards and in the description. So in Episode 1, the gang is at a party and Prince Philippe goes over to Kaitana and offers to buy her a drink. He says he's going to do everything possible to make things right with her. All of a sudden, the lights go off at the party and a screen comes on with a girl talking. Her name is Elodie and she's the girl Philippe sent a voicemail to last season apologizing for having SA'd her. She announces in this video that she wants to bring Philippe down for this. You see, he hasn't actually been held accountable for any of his past actions with women. In the next scene in another timeline, someone is face down in the pool and it looks like they're wearing a school uniform, and Samwell is also giving a statement to the police. There are two new kids at the school this term. Ivan, the son of a wealthy and famous football player. Ivan's father is present, as in he's there, but he just basically parties the whole time and he's either too drunk or hungover to drive Ivan to school, so Ivan is kind of the parent in the relationship. Then there's this rich influencer. She owns a nightclub. Her name is Izadora. I'm not really sure what her full deal is yet, but both of these kids are pretty underparented, so we can expect shenanigans. The school has some new rules as well. No cell phones are allowed and they have social distancing measures in place. Kaitana is having a rough go of things. Someone has written on the bathroom wall that she is Philippe's little B word. You see, they're still on speaking terms even after the revelations about him had been made public, but don't forget, she was also one of his victims, and although she managed to escape, she's still dealing with the trauma of that close call. Also, Philippe recorded them having sex without Kaya's consent. Rebe tells her that she can't fence it this one. Either she's with him or she's not. She should also really think about what he did to her. Kaya is clearly conflicted though. The new guy Ivan goes to Patrick for help finding the locker rooms and they flirt. Ivan says that he's not gay, but he's obviously very much enjoying Patrick's attention and he's encouraging it. Things aren't going well with Mencia and Rebe. Mencia blames Rebe for telling Ari about her financial arrangement with Armando. Well, Mencia was a minor at the time, so technically she couldn't actually consent, so it was abuse. Patrick and Omar seem to have a sexual relationship, but they also seem to be genuine friends as well, because they do talk about Ari, Patrick's issues with his dad, and Omar mentions that he and Ander are still together, even though Ander is on the other side of the world traveling. Patrick thinks that Omar is too intense though, and that Ander is just replying to Omar, but it's not as though Ander is actively trying to keep the relationship going. Interesting vibe between these two because they're surprisingly well matched, and Patrick isn't trying too hard to be too cool for school about it all. There's an affection there on both sides, but I'm worried that Omar might fall in love. Samwell eventually goes to Ari and they talk. He apologizes for not being there for her. They eventually kiss and embrace. They're not together, but they're on the road to patching things up, it seems. The thing is, remember, Ari is Benjamin, the principal's daughter, and Benjamin is something of a mentor to Samwell, so he has to walk a tight line with dating his mentor's daughter, basically. Later at work at the restaurant where Samwell and Omar work, Samwell also makes this comment to Omar, who is now the manager or the supervisor of the club restaurant, that he's acting out and he's being a harsh manager out of frustration because Ander isn't replying to his texts. So yeah, there are some issues there. Philippe asks Kaitana for help. He wants to leave the school, so if she comes out with what she knows about him, or basically what he tried to do to her, he could get kicked out, which is what he wants because he can't handle the negative public scrutiny anymore. Benjamin wants him to stay though because leaving would make it look as though he's running away and even more guilty, and they have the school's reputation to think of. We also get a scene where Omar is in the corner triple texting Ander who isn't responding. Oh no. Police investigators come around to the school and they start asking about Patrick and his possible connection with the disappearance of Armando. If you'll remember, it was Samwell, Rebe, and I believe Guzman who sunk his body at the bottom of the lake or something last season. But Patrick had nothing to do with Armando's disappearance. Still though, the investigators are sniffing around for leads. Samwell eventually tells Benjamin, who's very worried, that Armando is never coming back. And it looks as though Benjamin kind of knows what Samwell is implying. Patrick asks Ivan out for a drink and they end up tipsy later in Ivan's room to take a nap. Ivan is once again very flirty and he's physically comfortable around Patrick. He helps Patrick take his clothes off and he's very touchy, but he still says that he's straight, so nothing really happens. I mean, it puts Patrick in a bit of a tough spot because it's obvious that there's still an attraction and there is a chemistry there. Eventually, while Ivan is sleeping, Patrick goes to the bathroom to take care of himself. And by the way, at this point, I couldn't tell yet if Ivan was gay baiting or if this is some kind of foreplay. Kaitana ends up making a statement saying that Philippe wants to make amends and change, that she'll support him in staying and doing just that. At the end of the episode, Samwell says to the investigator, "I killed him." I guess he's talking about the body in the pool at the beginning of the episode. We don't know yet. Episode 2 starts off with Rebe talking to the investigator, and she says that Samwell is lying about killing him. In the present day, Kaya encourages Philippe to see a counselor, and he's not really into it at first, but she pushes him a bit. So I guess she's going to be his cheerleader on this rehabilitation mission, which weirded me out at first, but since she is a survivor, I guess she needs to go about her healing the way she feels is right. She doesn't want this to be swept under the rug or for him to forget what he did. I guess that this is also her way of holding him accountable. Patrick announces that he is hosting a secret party tomorrow, and it sounds like it's going to be wild. Ari and Samwell have sex on school property in the sports room, but her father surveils the whole school, so he sees them tagged in the same closed space together. So he walks over, interrupting them in the act, and gives them a talking to in his office. A guy named Bilal, who is from the local refugee center, comes to the club looking for food, and Omar tells him that he can help him out with a job washing dishes. As soon as Omar turns his back to get him some food to take with him, the guy tries to steal the tip jar, and Omar catches him and kicks him out. Mencia tells Rebe that she misses her and wants to try again. Rebe tells her that she's not going to be the one running after her. If Mencia really wants to try again, she should come to the party. Patrick hosts this party where there'll be no rules and no social distancing. The students all decide to put their phones on airplane mode so that they can't be tracked. But Patrick does send a message to his dad, so he knows that Patrick is partying. He just doesn't know where, and he's livid. Ivan comes to the party and he's flirting with Patrick at first, and they almost hook up on the dance floor, but Patrick turns away for a minute, and then Rebe ends up flirting with Ivan, and Patrick sees them all hot and heavy, and he's upset by this, but this just ends up confirming for Rebe that she's gay. Ivan wants to take things further, but she shuts it down. Prince Philippe and Patrick also make out. Benjamin ends up tracking the kids down, and he's at this party where everyone is basically making out with everyone. Patrick eventually asks Ivan what's up, and Ivan plays dumb and says, "Well, I said that I was straight," but Patrick tells him that he's being kind of a tease though, because he does these things like take Patrick's clothes off and grab his bottom. It's giving very mixed signals, and Patrick says that Ivan is just scared to kiss him. Ivan then goes and makes up with Samwell just to get a reaction out of Patrick, and this clearly hurts Patrick, who I've actually come to root for this season, so it was sad to see him bummed about this. I guess Ivan is going to be the season 4 Patrick of season 5, if you know what I mean, and you remember what a pain Patrick was last season. Mencia comes to the party and she sees Rebe making out with another girl. Bilal goes back to the restaurant and tells Omar that people are threatening him and that's why he needed to steal the money. Benjamin, who's at the party, sees the way Ari and Samwell are all over each other. Both of them had taken pills earlier, so they're all high and hot for each other. It's not like they're just making out. It's pretty extreme. At the end of the episode, we see a scene from another timeline, and it looks like Samuel is dragging a body across a beach. In episode 3, Bilal is staying at Omar and Samwell's place for the time being. At school, Benjamin gives the kids surprise drug tests, and if they test positive, they're kicked out. The kids all stick together and refuse the test. He can't expel all of them, so he says that they all have to vote for one person who'll be expelled on behalf of them all, because someone has to pay. This feels like extreme overreach and typical creepy Benjamin tactics. We see Ari talking to the investigator about how her father is really powerful and demanding. Philippe apologizes to Kaitana for drinking at the party the night before. He had promised that he would stop drinking because he gets potentially problematic when he does. And they're still trying to work through all of that. The new girl Izadora is trying to help Philippe on his rehab tour as well. She wants him, but he seems to only still have eyes for Kaitana. Ivan gifts Patrick with tickets to a movie by his favorite director as a way of apologizing for hurting his feelings the night of the party. He makes it clear that it's not a date though. They're just going as friends, but Patrick can give him a hug because he knows that Patrick wants one. Again, it feels kind of baity. While they're all getting ready to go out to the drive-in, Ivan makes out with Ari, although I can't really call it that. He just kisses her, and it kind of happens so quickly that she doesn't really have a chance to react. This guy is bad news. Later at the movie, she tells him to stay away from all of them, from her and Patrick. He reiterates that he just likes Patrick as a friend. Omar tries to talk to Bilal about getting help finding housing. Then they hug, and the guy realizes that Omar is gay and tries to hit on him, but Omar shuts shuts it down and tells him that he's not helping him because he expects something in return. By the way, it seems like they don't really have much for Omar to do this season. It's like he's aged out and should have left with Guzman and Ander, but he's still in school, so I guess he's still around. At one point at the drive-in, Mencia and Rebe are in the car alone together. It's really tense, and Mencia then starts making the moves. Eventually they kiss. Rebe, no. When Rebe tells Mencia to come over to her place and tell her dad that she's there, Mencia doesn't want to tell her dad, and Rebe feels that Mencia is trying to go back into the closet, so to speak, and that won't work for her. She ends things for good, saying that she's tried but she just can't do this anymore. Izadora ends up making the moves on Philippe, and they're making out as well, but when they start having sex, he gets flashbacks of what he's done to women and he stops. Patrick and Ivan are having a nice time watching the movie, and eventually Ivan says that he wants to go home. He also says that he and Patrick shouldn't be so physical or affectionate with each other because he's just really open, but it seems like Patrick is getting the wrong idea and doesn't understand that they'll never be together. It's best that they keep their distance, Ivan says. Patrick, obviously upset because he's also losing a friend now, walks off. We see how lonely Izadora is when she's back at her hotel suite where she lives. She takes and posts a photo of 2 drinks as though she's with someone, but she's actually alone. We find out later that she pretended to be with Philippe and he confronts her about it. She tells him that this is all in an effort to rehabilitate his image. Samwell's laptop goes missing at the house, and it seems like Omar sold it and gave the money to Bilal, or he gave the laptop to Bilal. I watched the scene twice and it confused me because I'm also not sure if Bilal took it and Omar is just covering for him. He's pretty gross about it too, telling Samwell that Samwell doesn't need the laptop. He's not desperate. There are a lot of computers at school and Bilal could live on that money for a month. He says that he'll buy Samwell a new one, which is not the point. Omar is going to be annoying this season again, isn't he? Oh god. Eventually Samwell is expelled because there's a tie between Samu and Omar in the who to expel vote. Omar votes for Samu to be the one to be kicked out because he calls Benjamin's bluff, thinking that Benjamin wouldn't really expel the golden child Samwell. He's too valuable and emotionally attached to him. Samwell does end up getting a 3-day expulsion though. This is horribly manipulative of Benjamin, to be honest, pitting the kids against each other. Samwell kicks Omar out of the house. He says he doesn't want him around anymore. At the end of the episode, we see Ari and Samu in the investigator's room, and she's asking why he did it. Did her father make him that crazy? In episode 4, we get a scene from the past of a phone call between Benjamin and Armando. Armando is threatening Benjamin with dirt that he has on him, and it looks as though it's his body that's surfacing in the lake where the kids disposed of him. It also looks like a student's body is floating in the pool. I don't know if we're meant to recognize the backpack. So there's a school fundraiser and all the kids are there. Bilal shows up and he's looking a little shady. Samu confronts him about stealing a phone. He actually did steal a cell phone that was left unattended on a table, and Samuel returns it to the owner and says that the owner dropped it. Samuel then confronts Bilal about stabbing Omar in the back when Omar helped him. You see, Omar is the supervisor / manager of the restaurant and he needs this event to go well. This is such a pointless storyline. I mean, do we really need a storyline about a refugee being a thief? I mean, anyone can be a thief, but this is so unnecessary. Anyway, Samuel kicks Bilal out and Omar accuses Samuel of lying about Bilal. Mencia walks in on Jess and Rebe making out. Jess seems a little clingy and Rebe is taken aback by it, but she later says that she's just not used to getting the attention she deserves. Ari comes to the party and she and Ivan are making secret eyes at each other. Of course, Samwell is working at the party, so he can't really hang out with her, and she tells him that if he's not working, he's studying, and if he's not studying, he's tired. She might be feeling a little bit neglected. Samwell eventually decides to quit after getting into it with Omar, and as Omar walks down the lake, he spots the body floating. Ari is drinking a lot, feeling neglected by Samwell, so she kind of starts partying alone, and Ivan goes over to her and they go on a boat joyride together, and they end up passionately making out. Omar and Bilal meanwhile jump into the water to try and save the body that they see floating, and they drag it out. Samu goes to Benjamin and tells him that he's quit his job. You see, Benjamin always thought that Samu was wasting his potential by being a waiter when he could be networking at events like this. Benjamin orders Samu a suit, and I guess Samwell is going to be his protege now. Oh no. Then the new girl Izadora spikes Philippe's drink. Then Patrick arrives at the party, maybe drunk or high, but possibly just a little messy because he's emotional. He knocks over a very expensive item on auction. He and his father have it out, and Patrick feels that Benjamin prefers Samu and he's the perfect lapdog, Patrick calls him. Patrick, all emotional, goes outside and sees Ivan and Ari making out. Well, it looks like they're having sex on the boat, to be honest. Oh, poor guy. He opens up to Ivan's father about about feeling like an outsider in his own family. And I swear I saw a look here, but I thought I was overreacting. No, I was bloody not. Next thing you know, Patrick and Ivan's father, Cruz, are making out. This is so bad. The adults on the show are the worst. Samu joins Omar by the lake and says that they should not call the police, but they eventually do. Mencia throws her phone at one point and somehow finds out that her father was connected to Armando. More on that later. Then we see at the end of the episode what looks like Samu's body in the pool. That's who the school uniformed body belonged to, Samwell. In episode 5, the police arrive at the scene where the body is by the lake, and I hope the kids have their stories straight. Omar just casually suggests pinning it all on Prince Philippe at some point. Seriously, Omar? Ari and Ivan happen upon the scene as well, and she's all, you know what just happened between us? Never happened. Armando tried to kill Ari last season, remember, so she's shaken up about this. Of course, after their makeout session, probably more happened, who knows. Cruz ditches Patrick as soon as they head back into the party. Ivan keeps trying to talk to Ari and she's avoiding him. He starts crying and opens up to Patrick a bit. Patrick guesses that it's about Ari, and Ivan tells Patrick that he has to move every time his dad changes football teams, so it's difficult to keep making connections. He tells Patrick that what he looks for in a girl is what he has with Patrick. Patrick, for his part, has accepted that he has unreciprocated feelings for Ivan, but that doesn't have to get in the way of their friendship. And it really is a sweet friendship when Ivan isn't kind of gay baiting or flirting or being touchy. The investigator asks Benjamin for his phone. They found Armando's body by the lake, so they want to cross-reference the contact messages and calls. Benjamin tells Mencia that he lied and told the inspector that he only had one phone, but he has another in his pocket, and he wants her to take it and hide it for him. So remember that Samwell told Benjamin that Armando is never coming back. Samu says that he was just trying to cheer Benjamin up, and when Benjamin asks about Guzman's possible involvement, Samu clams up and says he knows nothing and he walks away. It's clear to Benjamin though that someone knows something. Patrick and Ivan skip school to drink and they hang out by the pool, and the creepy father joins them. Patrick goes to get some ice and Cruz follows him inside, and they start kind of flirting in the kitchen. Cruz, the dad, then says that he isn't gay and he prefers not to get involved with Ivan's friends. Patrick says he understands and he's about to walk away, but Cruz calls him back and they're about to kiss. They only don't end up kissing because they're interrupted by Ivan calling for them. Cruz tells Patrick to meet him in his room later that night. Patrick goes to Ivan's room because they're about to watch a movie together, and Ivan is watching, well, explicit adult content, but the hetero kind. He asks Patrick if he's into it, and it kind of turns steamy between the two guys. They fool around basically, but without touching each other. Then Ivan almost goes in for a kiss, but he stops himself, and at this point, Patrick has had enough because he feels like he's been led on, so he goes to the guest room. They meet a little later in the hallway that night, just as Patrick is about to go to Cruz's room, and Ivan tells Patrick that it's his own fears that are keeping him from experiencing something possibly really good, but he admits that he wants this. Ivan is jittery and nervous, and Patrick is really sweet, and they take things easy. Ivan is eager and learning, and honestly, it's very fumbly, but in a cute way. They go back to Ivan's room and they have sex. It's very romantic, but I'm scared that Ivan is going to be in denial the next morning and leave Patrick with a broken heart. Kaitana ends up helping Izadora, the new girl, home, and she finds her drug stash. Izadora says that she's basically lived in hotels her whole life. Her parents appear to be hoteliers as well, and they left her to her own devices basically when they were off traveling. That's when she discovered nightlife and drugs. I know what they're trying to do with the storyline. Poor little rich girl who's sad and only being mean and hard as a defense mechanism, but they haven't done a good job in making her likable or sympathetic or even a really compelling character. So it's going to be interesting to see if she ends up being a favorite. Oh wow, the next day, Ivan greets Patrick in a kind of flirty way. It's very, very cute. This show is so focused on scandal and drama that we don't get nearly enough cute, wholesome romance. Cruz comes to school then for some school business, but he bumps into Patrick and tells him that he waited for him. Patrick, who's a kid basically, has to then break up with this man, and he tells Cruz that he's not ready for all that. Samu asks Ari what's going on between her and Ivan, and she says nothing. She wants answers about what he knows about Armando, and he says he knows nothing about that. Mencia tells Rebe that she thinks her father might be involved with the Armando murder, and she doesn't know whether to keep quiet. Rebe tells her just to keep quiet about it. At the end of the episode, the inspector finds Armando's phone, and just as Mencia is about to talk, Samu admits to killing Armando, and he's taken in by police. We see then that this was Benjamin's plan, that if Samu takes the fall, Benjamin will have the best lawyers on the case and he'll be out in no time. He'll move in with Benjamin's family and he'll be set for life and never have to worry about anything again. Then Mencia overhears Rebe freaking out to Omar, asking why Samu took the fall. Was it to save Guzman or the Nazi? Now, early in the episode, Samu also referred to the Nazi, and I didn't know this, but I guess it's Benjamin. Anyway, that's episode 5. In episode 6, Samu is in custody, and he's on the phone with Benjamin and a lawyer who tell him to say he doesn't know why he confessed, that it was a temporary insanity situation. That'll get him released on bail, and Benjamin will raise the funds to get the money for the bail. The bail is about 25,000 euros, and Philippe offers to pay for it, but his parents have control of his accounts and they're not letting him access the money. So the kids all decide that they're going to need to come up with a plan. I'm sure Benjamin knows people with deep pockets who could spot him alone, but this doesn't seem like an urgent priority for him. Okay, so I didn't really understand before, but I understand now what's going on with Mencia and the cell phone. You see, remember when Armando gifted her a cell phone? He hid a secret SIM card with secret files on that phone. These are the files that Benjamin wants to destroy because they could potentially incriminate him for possible money crimes and business type crimes. Oh god, the storyline. Ari goes to Samu and explains the money issue and tells him that they're working on it. Both Ari and Patrick are kinda like, I can't believe you did this for our dad. Patrick can't really stand his dad right now, and Ari is just surprised at the hold that Benjamin seems to have over Samu. Ari and Ivan talk, and he offers to get the money together. This is also a potentially good friendship, but you just know already that with the show, they're going to complicate it, plus they've already slept together. Ivan and his dad, Cruz, go for dinner, and he tells his dad that he likes both Patrick and Ari. He essentially comes out to his dad in the scene. Anyway, he says that he has feelings for both, but he has real feelings for Patrick. His world is just somehow better with Patrick in it, and Patrick soothes him. His dad is obviously freaking out a bit. Cruz says that Ivan should rather focus his attentions on Ari. He's obviously jealous. Ivan decides to host a pink party in order to raise funds for Samu. The party will be kind of like an auction where you win a date with someone you like. Izadora struggles a bit at first to get into party mode because she's sober, and so she goes to the bathroom to use, but Kaya catches her and throws out her stash. Isadora manages to get it together and host a great party sober. I suppose this is a private school crowd, so it's plausible that this could raise $25,000. They are all still struggling though, and fall a couple of thousand short. Then the dad, Cruz, shows up and he says he'll pay the difference, so they're able to bail Samu out. Of course, this generous offer is also a bit of a poison pill. You see, he also bid on Patrick, so he gets a date with him. Ivan bid on Ari and they leave together, and Patrick sees them. Cruz tells Patrick that Ivan told him that he likes Patrick, but that he likes Ari more, so it's best for him to know that now so that he can move on. So this dad is legit sabotaging his son's potential relationship because he's jealous and wants Patrick for himself. It's super manipulative and predatory, and just gross. Ivan and Ari go home and he sings to her in the bath. I suppose he and Patrick never agreed to be exclusive, but still, the fact that this is his sister, no. They don't have sex, but it's clear that they are into one another and they want to explore this, even though Ari has said that she really still loves Samu. Kaya tells Philippe to please leave her alone. There's another girl who really likes him. She means Izadora. I mean, sure, he could leave Kaya alone, but the pairing between Felipe and Izadora is pretty random because apart from being a pretty party girl, what is Philippe supposed to like about her? What are we supposed to like about her? And then, oh no, Ivan sees his dad and Patrick making out in the pool. So basically, brother, sister, father, and son are all kind of in the same romantic entanglement. Finally, Samwell is back at school. He goes to hug and thank Benjamin, but Ari tells him that it was Ivan's efforts that got him out of jail. I think Samu is starting to realize that Benjamin just wants to save himself. At the end of the episode, we see a scene in another timeline where Patrick is shouting at Samwell to wait. Samwell collapses on the lawn, and Patrick turns to Mencia and Ari with his shirt all bloody. In episode 7, the investigator asks Samwell to get information on Benjamin, and in exchange, all the charges against him will be dropped. Benjamin tells Samu that he can still trust him. Ivan meanwhile confronts his dad about his dad hooking up with Patrick, and the dad says that they were drunk and fooled around. He says something like, "You've also fooled around with him." But Ivan is understandably upset after having opened up to his dad about having actual feelings for Patrick. He also tells Patrick to stay away from him and his dad, stay out of his life. Samu talks to Rebe about what the investigators offered him, and she tells him about the SIM card with the incriminating evidence. Samu apologizes to Ari and he suggests that they start over. Isa wants Philippe to acknowledge her, but he's actually really rude and cold to her, telling her that she's a junkie and she's lonely. In this scene, my heart kind of broke for her. Ivan tries to apologize to Ari for the other night. Basically he kicked her out and wanted to drive her home, and it was very abrupt after they were hooking up. Remember, he suddenly became upset because he saw his dad and Patrick hooking up in the pool. She tells him that Samwell is back now, so nothing will change. Oh, looks like these two are back at it again. I don't know if this is part of Rebe's plan though. Isa, who has her own helicopter by the way, invites some of her classmates and Ivan to her nightclub, the one that she owns in Ibiza. Philippe sees her post on social media and immediately charters his own helicopter to Ibiza because he sees something in the photo that she posted, her drugs. Patrick also sees the videos of Ivan and Isa making out. He gets really upset and ends up shoving his dad. I actually mean this in the most caring way, but he needs serious therapy or actual parents and friends to talk to. I kind of wish they didn't just abandon his friendship with Omar. Patrick confides in his dad somewhat, saying this all happened because he slept with someone that Ivan cares about, and his dad thinks that this is selfish and that he hurts the people that he cares about. Obviously, I'd agree if this was someone his age, but Ivan's dad is kind of predatory, so of course a kid like Patrick, who's just looking for love and validation, is going to be vulnerable to that. At a family dinner, Mencia catches Rebe rummaging through the house, and she knows that Rebe wants the SIM card incriminating Benjamin. Rebe eventually takes it, well, Mencia lets her take it. And then in another timeline, we see Mencia standing at the edge of the pool. The SIM card is floating in the water and there's blood at the edge of the pool. Meanwhile in Ibiza, the kids are tweaking, I guess. Ivan sends a drunk voice note to Ari telling her to stay out of his head. I kind of hated that at this moment he was thinking about Ari and not Patrick. She later listens to the rest of the message and he's confessing his sad and in love feelings, but he mentions Patrick's name. Patrick shows up to Cruz's house feeling lonely and sad, and they end up making out. Philippe arrives and tells Isa that he doesn't want to see her destroy herself. He ends up joining the party, using as well. This is not going to end well, and oh no. I basically thought that she'd end up in hospital getting her stomach pumped, which is bad enough, but she passes out, and the other guys use this as an opportunity to take advantage of her. It's a pretty triggering scene because she's just out of it, and there's no one there for her, so she's at the mercy of these no good boys. In the final episode, episode 8, Rebe is at Samu's house, and they have the SIM card. They're planning to go to the police with it, I think, finally. Ari comes over and tells Samu that she will understand if he decides that he wants to protect himself, but giving that card to the police will destroy her family. So the guys, Philippe and Ivan, don't remember anything that happened at the party the night before, but they're sensing bad vibes and they're super hungover. Izadora is all peppy and happy, like, look, we partied, we had a good time, whatever. But we see that she has some random flashbacks to that night. She knows what happened, that she consumed too much to be able to consent. Ivan and Patrick are freaking out because, as well, they start realizing what happened as the night starts to come back to them. Ivan says that he remembers the guys asking him to join, but he's sure he didn't because he's not that kind of guy. Ari lets Patrick listen to the messages from Ivan, and they're unsure if he mentioned Patrick's name out of drunkenness but meant Ari, or if he meant Patrick, but they both know. Rebe reminds Samu that his friends and family are there for him and shouldn't trust Benjamin, who's out to protect himself. Philippe goes to Kaya and tells her that he's not really sure of what happened with Isa. He's sure that he didn't do anything, but he's scared. He asks Kaya to try to talk to Isa because she's denying that anything happened, but maybe she will open up to Kaya. He wants to do the right thing and he wants to acknowledge, take accountability for whatever happened. Kaitana has been fired, by the way, for being caught snooping in Benjamin's office after hours, for looking for dirt on him. Patrick tells Ivan about the message, and Ivan says that the message was for Ari, and in any case it doesn't matter anymore because he's moving to Qatar with his dad. It's over, and Patrick should just leave him alone. While she's in the shower, we see for sure that Isa knows what happened, and she's pretty traumatized even though she hides it in public. She feels physical pain and she's bleeding. Kaya tries to talk to her, but Isa says that she won't be a victim and she won't give Kaya the satisfaction. Kaya tells her that her offer to talk will never expire and that she's there for her. Benjamin calls Samu, who's at the police station. He begs Samu not to go through with it, to please help him save his family, and Samu agrees to go to Benjamin's house to talk to him. The other guys show Ivan and Philippe the video of the other night, and it turns out that Ivan and Philippe actually wanted to help Isa. They didn't participate in the assault, but they were too out of it to do anything to help her, so they passed out on the floor. In their high state, though, they did physically try to get to Isa because they saw that she was in trouble and that what the guys were doing was wrong. Kaitana eventually packs her bags and leaves the school. school. She goes out with an old friend of hers. He just kind of popped up on the scene this season and they reconnected. She finally feels ready to give him a chance, so they kiss and go out for tapas. I'm so used to seeing this guy as the gay brother in Vivir Sin Permiso. Anyway, Samwell goes to Benjamin's house and the kids are there. Patrick runs off though when Cruz texts him wanting to see him. He goes to the restaurant and when he gets there, Cruz takes him to a room and Ivan is there. He tells Ivan that maybe it's time to stop running. Benjamin and Samu meanwhile have a talk and Benjamin says that he knows that Samu has been there and all he's offered, as in all Benjamin has offered to Samu, are empty dreams. He slides an envelope across the table and tells Samu that this is his thanks in more tangible form. Pre-admission and a full scholarship to some fancy business school at Oxford University and a €3,000 per month allowance. Then he can take a position at one of his companies. Philippe tries to talk to Isa about what really happened that night, but she's in denial. He tells her that he cares about her and whatever happens, he'll be there for her. They eventually kiss. I don't really feel them as a couple because I'm sure that he cares about her, but yeah, I don't know. They're just kind of two spare characters this season that kind of got together, sure. Cruz thanks Patrick for helping him come to terms with who he is, but he says that Ivan is the one that Patrick really loves. Ivan isn't quite ready to hear it yet. Cruz tells Ivan that he turned down Qatar because this is the first time Ivan has been happy, so they're going to stay and give the happiness a chance. He tells Ivan to go and get his guy, but by the time that Ivan goes in, Patrick is gone. By the way, this would have been such a great moment between father and son because it was a really well written and emotional scene, but obviously it was ruined by the fact that Cruz and Patrick slept together several times. Benjamin tells Samu to give him the SIM card and he'll never want for anything in his life again. When Samu says no, Benjamin runs after him to tackle him and Samu slips, bumps his head and falls into the pool. Patrick arrives just on time and helps his dad pull Samu out of the pool. Patrick wants to call the ambulance because Samu's unconscious and bleeding from the head, but Benjamin kind of manipulates him into not calling because it'll ruin their family. Patrick calls his sisters to help and Benjamin is just panic stations at this point. He just wants to leave Samu at a hospital without being seen. When the kids arrive, Benjamin tries to lie to them as well, but Mencia eventually calls the police. The jig is up, Benjamin. Philippe goes down to the police station with Isa so that she can file an assault report. She finally says the words, what happened to her, and he's there to support her. So Omar is at the house with the rest of the gang and he's trying to get Samu to respond, but Samu's passed out again as sirens go off in the background. Omar and Rebe are really crying as though Samu is slipping away in their arms. Eventually, Benjamin gets arrested and Ivan arrives at the house and he and Patrick embrace. Finally, Patrick doesn't have to be so alone. The episode ends there with Rebe and Omar walking away from the house. And that's the end of season 5 of Elite. Feel free to share your thoughts and thank you for watching.